Chapter 67, Crippling and the Video 1. Zhu Tui only stayed in the emergency center for 2 hours. Under his intense request, Doctor, he allowed Zhu Tun to sign on the form before letting him leave. These 2 hours were a quiet 2 hours. Zhu Tui thought about it and reflected on himself. Both Wen Xiao and the doctor at the emergency center mentioned a deadline, 3 months. The 3 months of a new student's life was a period of rapid growth and protection. It was a little like the novice protection period in the game. The competition that the school allowed was relatively lesser. However, the competition became completely open 3 months later. According to the rules, if both parties were willing, they could injure or even kill the other party, much less cripple the other party. Competition was encouraged in both the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College and the other genetic evolution colleges. Those who had the upper hand in the competition would receive a large number of cultivation resources. The most famous of them all was the Longhu list. They have the Longhu list for the first years to the third years. There was no Longhu list for fourth-year students. First, many of the seniors had not been in school during their fourth year, especially those who had the ability and were powerful. They had long left the school. It was meaningless for them to be listed on the year for Longhu list alone. Other than that, there was also the overall rankings of the school. There were 100 rankings for both the Longhu list and the Longhu overall rankings. The first was called the Dragon. The top 10 were called the Tigers. So a total of 1 dragon and 9 tigers. The rest of the people on the rankings were called the Talents. Those who failed to enter the rankings would become dust under the wind. Honor was one thing. However, the benefits of having true ability were immense. For example, Dragon in the number 1 spot in every grade could collect 4 bottles of level E energy restoration elixirs from the school every 3 days. As long as he was on the rankings for more than 3 days, he consumed more than 1 bottle a day. That was only one of the benefits. If one could enter the top 10 and be a tiger, he could only obtain 3 level E energy restoration elixirs every 3 days. The second on the Longhu list, which was the best tiger of each grade, had additional benefits. The students ranked 11th to 40th could receive 2 bottles of level E energy restoration elixirs every 3 days. From the 41st to the 70th place, a student could receive a level E energy restoration elixir every 3 days. From the 71st to the 100th place, a person could receive 30 level F energy restoration pills every 3 days or, after accumulating them, a bottle of level E energy restoration elixir every 6 days. What made Zhu Tun even more excited was that the energy restoration elixir, rewarded for the people on the school's Longhu overall rankings, had become an even more precious level D elixir. A bottle of a level D energy restoration elixir was worth $50,000. Is the Longhu list dangerous? Yes. Accordito Dr. He, because of the Longhu list, students would be severely injured or even forced out of the school every year. Some might even die. Death was not uncommon. The safety precautions worked a little at this moment. In the words of Dr. He, since they were going to fight for the rankings, they had to be prepared to be injured or even killed. They had to pay a price if they wanted to obtain more resources. Otherwise, why would the school and the government invest millions in a student like you? If Dragon of the first-year Longhu list could hold on to its position for a year, the value of the level E energy elixirs would total $2.4 million a year. A fortune of $2.4 million. If it was Zhu Tui's father, Zhu Jiangguo, he would have to work hard for 40 years without eating or drinking to save such a large sum of money. Of course, they can choose not to fight. They would graduate peacefully and become a more ordinary genetic newcomer. If there were no accidents, a student who had graduated from the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College could find a stable job, get married, and have children. As long as the extraterrestrial situation on the Blue Star is stable, the extraterrestrial battlefield, the extraterrestrial invaders, the latest genetic technology, and even genetic weapons have nothing to do with you. Would they be content with that? Zhu Tui would definitely not be content with that. When the time came, he would definitely have to fight for his place on the Longhu list. It was also this starting point that made Zhu Tui feel that today's battle drill with Deng Wei was a reminder to him. That was not an actual battle. Zhu Tui might be able to better protect himself if he had to go through the same battle drill today. However, he would not severely injure Deng Wei during their first or second exchange. It was even more impossible for him to directly explode Deng Wei's eyeballs. First, this was essentially a sparring session between students. Deng Wei might have had a problem with his intentions, but Zhu Tui had not crippled him for life by blowing out his eyeballs the moment he attacked. He was not that cruel. Zhu Tui was a high school student who came from a normal family. He was a little mean, a little mischievous, a little cunning, but definitely not brutal. More importantly, the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's rules for new students were not for show. If Zhu Tui managed to make Deng Wei's eyeballs explode during their first exchange, what awaited him tomorrow was an expulsion order. He would also have to bear legal responsibility and financial compensation. Zhu Tui remembered the lesson that Zhao Xuexui had taught him. Learn to use the rules to protect yourself. So he extended his plan and used the rules to attack his enemies. During their second exchange, Deng Wei had intentionally injured Zhu Tui. Even though he had no intention of killing Zhu Tui, they were already enemies. That resulted in the third round. However, Deng Wei's injuries were more severe than Zhu Tui had expected. He had been crippled. Zhu Tui had his own plans for this. However, he did not think that crippling an individual would result in a fatal change to his future.